little exercise here. I'm going to say a sentence and then you finish it. If you want something done right, then
do it yourself.
Hire an expert.
So I heard some good ones. Largely, I heard you do it yourself, right? That's the saying. So what we're going to talk about now is how not to do it yourself. How are you going to transition from being that producer, being that doer, to that leader of the company? And so with us today, we have Chris Lazarus and Erica Ramus. If you want to join me on stage, and Thad will lead this next session. Thank you.
All right, it was cool to see how many people in the audience have started their own company. My partner and I had a team. We were in sales in the late 90s and started our own company in 2000. And I gradually transitioned out of sales in 03 and 04. But kind of, stuck around when needed. And it was a very interesting time. It's different now, though, I think, heading 15 years later, I think the role of the broker is incredibly different than it was 15 years ago, and their responsibilities are different too. So it'll be good to hear how you guys handle it. If you can just start by just letting us know kind of a little bit about your history and what made you transfer from agent to leadership.
I'm Erica Ramus, and I own a small boutique company in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. We have a team of 10. There's 7 agents and 3 staff on board, and it's what I call a highly productive but small team. So my minimum production to be in the office is 24 sides a year. And most of my agents are doing between 36 and 50 to 60 transactions a year. So it's small, but we're mighty. And basically, I'm the team leader, the rainmaker. My name is on the door. It brings the leads in. And that's how we function, just as a super team almost.
Well, you weren't always a super team. So when was that transition period when you got started and when you started growing, when you realized, I need to put more effort into supporting others than working on the business myself or working on the leads myself?
I've owned the brokerage about 12 years, and probably about 4 or 5 years ago I started transitioning out because we were just bringing more agents on. We had too many listings coming in. We have 7 agents, and we have about 15% market share in my area, so that's huge. And I just couldn't do it all. So basically what they said before, at what point do you transition from the one doing everything to the one behind the desk controlling everything? And that's what I did about 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay, cool, Chris.
Awesome. So everybody in this room at some point in time has gone through a financial crisis. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't. That's no different than what we went through in 2014. We're a small family-owned company, and just myself, my in-laws, now my wife is helping out. But in 2014, my father-in-law had a ruptured aorta, and at that point up until then, I was a producing agent. I found that nothing can challenge a small business like medical issues from the owners. It can traumatize the entire company. So we dealt with managing the company for about 4 months during his recovery, while everybody was helping him take care of it. It was basically me and an admin who was unlicensed at the time. So we survived it, and we didn't have the funds or the resources to hire and train additional staff during that time. So afterwards, we decided, you know what, we're not going to do this again. We're going to make sure that our company has a solid foundation, that we're going to weather the storms. So in 2015, I got my broker's license, and my in-laws promoted me to broker, gave me some ownership in the company, and we started restructuring. The biggest challenge being at that point was we didn't have the finances to grow. We didn't have the finances to basically pay a salary. So I had to produce at that time, and I knew that I couldn't be a producing broker and deliver the level of service that I wanted to our agents over time, so I knew I had to work a way out.
So both of you were strong producers, though. You both sold well. What skill set do you think, because we all know the ones that are positive, that I'm a good salesperson, I'm energetic, etc. But what are the skill sets that are almost required for a good salesperson that don't transfer over to leadership, or something that you actually have to dull a little bit in order to relate and kind of be a better leader in your group? It's a tough question.
It is a tough question, but I think a lot of top producers are probably type A and do it themselves, do it, and almost control freaks. Some of the best producers in my office are total control freaks over the deals. They don't want an admin touching their files. They don't want somebody calling the buyer even to set up the appointments. So being a control freak is very difficult when you're a broker owner and you don't want to delegate.
From the agent side, it's a very narrow focus point. You have your production that you're focused on building, and you have your customer service. From the leadership standpoint in the brokerage, a lot of it, you have to think big. You have to think from 30,000 feet, not on the ground level. And you have to be able to look at all the different intricacies of the company, and you have to be able to assess all the different areas. How does culture impact? How does your attitude every day impact the people that are coming into the office? And a lot of that doesn't really play out when you're like the solo agent.
I do think, big teams, if there's any big teams out there, you have your own identity, you have your own culture. It starts from the top and it trickles down through everybody on your team. You can see teams out there where you have people go in and out that don't have a core group, and then you see those teams that have really strong relationships, and they are always those that seem to grow the fastest. So you hit on a culture. It's a big deal, whether it's a culture between 2 people or 2,000 people. From your side, in transferring from sales to leadership and the culture, what did you want to change? For what you had right now, what did you want to change or do differently before you were leading?
Absolutely. So, up until 2014, when I took over in March of 2015, we were basically a virtual brokerage. It was very unplanned growth, so when we came in and we decided we wanted to restructure, we had to look at everything. From the tiniest little system, we restructured the whole company. And I knew that I needed to get out of that production role for brokerage, so I started reading a lot. And I went and Googled what the top 100 CEOs are reading, what their most influential book was. And I left the industry. I was reading Turn the Ship Around and Chess, Not Checkers, which really impacted how I decided to grow the culture, because I made it about the agent. And we wanted to know what our agents wanted, which we did surveys, we went after and found out that they wanted a lot of training, they wanted support, and as the virtual office, we weren't doing that. So we had to build up until the point in this last November, we moved into a 3,500 square foot office, our own dedicated production studio, classroom, we trained 4 days a week. So it took a long time to get there, about 3 years, but we listened to the agents and we gave them what they wanted.
You have a huge office, right? You have over 100?
We're at 113 right now.
113. So for me, the culture is about me, and that's what brings in the leads. So we're very broker-centric in the office, and I know this would not work at many other offices, but everything is about control and the control of the brand and the image, because my name is on the door. So we have everything systemized as far as from the minute a listing comes into the office, there's a list of tasks like I'm sure many of you have, but for me, we control every email that goes out basically. The agent who is the listing agent also communicates with the client. However, there's emails that come from me from day one so that they know that I am here and I'm in the background. We have all of our expectations systemized. The buyers, the sellers get emails constantly saying now your home inspection has been ordered. So it's a very broker-centric model as opposed to an agent-centric model, but I'd like to believe that it's because we want the client experience to be seamless. So it doesn't matter who's on my team. You can't come back and say, well, a certain agent did it this way and another agent did it that way. It's very culture as far as this is the way the Ravis Realty Group operates, and this is what you're going to get when you sign on with us.
So as leaders now in this market, it's a little bit different than 10, 15 years ago. What are you seeing that you need to change? So what do you want to do differently in the leadership of your group new competitors that are out there and some of the new challenges? What are the things that you're looking to do differently or to insert in the company that both enhance the culture but also will be focused on productivity?
We went through a process of removing a lot of agents. When I came on board, and within my first 6 months of being broker, I became very cynical. Very easy to do coming into that role, where you see all these deals coming across and you think to yourself, what on earth are these people thinking? So it got to a point where I had to do a lot of self-reflecting and figure out, okay, it's not their, someone has failed these agents at some point in their career. If they're making screw-ups on small contracts or not knowing how to disclose something. So I came to the conclusion that nobody wakes up in the morning and decides, you know what, I'm going to go and ruin a contract for my client today. They just don't. So if they're doing that, somebody's failed them. So I took it upon myself to really say, you know what, our agents want training. We're going to focus on that. But before we did that, we had to make it an environment where agents felt comfortable collaborating. And we had a lot of agents that we had to get rid of. So when I took over, we were just at about 150. Now we're at 113. We've selectively dwindled. Some agents left us because of the change in direction. We're going towards quality and away from quantity. Some agents were removed for just not being a good fit where we want to go. Some agents were reported for investigation, and one was prosecuted. So,
wow.
I mean, you get rid of what you have to get rid of, but by doing that, it reinforced with the agents that are here that we are in their corner. And it showed them that, no, we hear you, but not only do we hear you, we are doing it. And we're moving in the direction that you want us to go because we want to support you. We want to give you that environment that's collaborative and warm and nurturing, and you enjoy coming into the office rather than going and maybe logging in online and taking a little video course.
Okay, cool. Erica?
I'm probably an anomaly because I really don't recruit. I do not go after other agents. I look, and maybe I'm very cynical too, but I look at the roster on my county level and I think, don't want. So I do not recruit. But every agent who's...
If you look at the roster and did that, you would not be good.
I would not be good. I want full-time, professional agents who will represent the company, who will work hard, who will not complain about having to work nights and weekends, and who will fill the contracts in correctly. Okay? So I do not want your average agent, and that's why I do not go out and recruit.
So how are you growing then?
So I'm growing by people who come to me. We have people in the office who are on the other side of a bad transaction, a transaction that went south, and a person who just came with me recently, she called me and she said, I don't know if you even want to talk to me because this totally blew up in our faces. She said, but I really liked the way you handled the deal and the way you handled your agent. She said, my broker was not in on the transaction and had no clue what was going on. He didn't help me when I called him. I couldn't find him. Your agent and you spoke to me throughout the whole process. She said, can I come interview with you? And she's now one of our agents. She was doing about 10 sides a year when she came with me, and I told her she had to do 24 sides, and she said, I don't know if I could do that. She just closed her 30th deal. So,
that's awesome. So what is it in you? Because I mean, in a lot of ways, you define yourself as the rainmaker. You're making things happen. What is it in you? And is that sauce or that spark, is that something that somebody else can build, or is it something that's just innate?
I think it's passion. I love what I do.
A lot of people are passionate about things that they're terrible at. Like singing and dancing. This is my passion, Dad.
You got a child like that. I don't know. I think that I have opened multiple businesses. I've been an entrepreneur. I was in magazine publishing for years. I crashed and burned once, succeeded the second time. I've learned entrepreneurship is difficult, and it's not just you're a great agent, you're selling millions of dollars a year, and now you go open the doors to your new office and you succeed. If you've got to have business smarts, you've got to have people skills, and it's beyond just, I can fill out the contract.
So how did your agents at Select, when you were, I mean, because of your family situation, you were catapulted into leadership to a certain degree in a short period of time. Were there agents that felt like you weren't qualified or felt like you didn't have
Absolutely.
So how did you deal
I
with
was
that?
27.
Yeah. How old are you now?
I'm 31. So when I first came on, we didn't have the finances. We weren't a productive firm. Like I said, it was all unplanned growth. We had 150 agents, $67 million in sales. I mean, that's abysmal. So within the first 2 years after really starting to implement some leadership, we grew our sales volume from 67 million to 115 million, which was pretty impressive. It actually got us some recognition. We won an award from the University of Georgia, which was pretty cool. And some of that stuff, as it started to play out, people started seeing, okay, I'm in, I'm buying in. Because we had to focus on getting their buy-in, but we didn't, beforehand, we were all about just getting their wallet, right? We were cheap. We weren't affordable, we were cheap. And we had no overhead when we started. So we had this 150 agent workforce that had no real buy-in to the company other than the fact that they couldn't find a better deal anywhere else. Over the course of the 3 years that we added a lot of value to the agents, from training to support and increasing their sales, which actually gave some kind of showcases. We could showcase to our agents, hey, look, we do know what we're talking about, because look at this brand new agent that came on board in 18 months, he's closed $8 million. So we had the opportunities there, we showcased, and then as we started focusing on what they care about, what their passions are, and really what they wanted out of their career, they saw that we were really going after their hearts and souls. We care about our agents, and when we convey that, we get their buy-in.
So are you recruiting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All the
Oh, this is
time.
cool. So you're
With
recruiting
all
all
my
the time.
agents.
So when you're out there recruiting, are you having good success?
I am. We just brought on an agent from a major franchise who was told, she's been licensed for 6 months, and her mentor told her, do not tell your network that you're in real estate because you haven't completed all this training yet. 6 months. Nobody knew she was in real estate.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. It's nice. I can talk to you guys for a long time. We are out of time, but congratulations to both of you. You seem like very great people.
One of the things our agents really enjoy about